My people, let's talk about something that has been shaking the news in Nigeria recently. The story about 16 Nigerian military officers who have been detained over what is being described as an alleged coup plot. Yes, you heard that right. 16 officers from different arms of the Nigerian military reportedly being questioned as part of an internal investigation. It's the kind of story that grabs attention because whenever you hear the word coup in this part of the world, it immediately brings back memories of Nigeria's military past. Now, before we dive deep into this, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel, because what we do here is break down big news stories in a simple, clear, and calm way. No panic, no confusion, just facts you can understand. So go ahead, hit that like button, and let's talk about what's really happening behind this headline. So here's what the story says. According to reports that came out earlier this week, about 16 officers, including a brigadier general, several colonels, lieutenant colonels, majors, captains, and even one Navy lieutenant commander, are said to have been detained as part of an investigation into what sources describe as an alleged plot. The key word here is alleged. Nobody has been convicted or found guilty of anything. They are being detained for questioning, and that's what has sparked all the noise across the media and social platforms. Different news outlets have released similar lists of names and profiles, most of them tracing back to a detailed report by Premium Times, one of Nigeria's leading investigative newspapers. The paper gave a rundown of who these officers are, their ranks, their service backgrounds, and even their states of origin. It's not something you see every day, because normally the Nigerian military keeps these matters strictly internal. So the moment the names went public, people started paying attention. But here's where the story takes a twist. Not long after that report came out, the defense headquarters in Abuja, that's the official mouthpiece of the Nigerian military, released a statement saying Nigerians should not panic and should disregard any rumor of a coup. They said, and I quote, "There is no coup anywhere. The Nigerian armed forces remain loyal to the constitution and to the president." That was their firm response. So you have two things happening at the same time. First, a major news outlet saying 16 officers have been detained for questioning over an alleged plot. And second, the defense headquarters coming out to say there is no coup. Those two statements are what set off a wave of discussion all over the country. People began asking questions like, if there's no coup, then why are officers being detained? And if officers are being detained, then what exactly is going on? Now, in the middle of this entire situation, a well-known political figure, Tinubu Silva, the former governor of Bayelsa State and one-time minister of petroleum resources, came out to say that military personnel actually raided his home. According to him, they searched the place and he was never contacted beforehand. He denied having anything to do with any alleged coup or plot, saying that the whole situation came to him as a surprise. His statement added even more spice to the already hot story, because when a high-profile name like that pops up, the media pays attention. Still, the military didn't shift its position. They maintained that there's no coup, no attempt to overthrow the government, and that any detentions that happened were simply part of internal disciplinary or investigative procedures. Now, for those who may not know, this kind of internal investigation isn't uncommon in the military. Sometimes when intelligence reports suggest that something unusual might be happening, even if it turns out to be false, the first step is usually to detain and question people quietly while they verify the information. So, what we're seeing could simply be that kind of internal check. At the same time, It's important to note that this story came up around the same period President Bola Ahmed Tinubu carried out a big reshuffle in the top levels of the armed forces. New service chiefs were appointed, new commands were restructured, and leadership was rotated across key areas. Because of that timing, some Nigerians started connecting dots, wondering if the shakeup had anything to do with the alleged detentions. But officially, the presidency and the military have said the reshuffle was planned as part of routine efforts to strengthen the security system and improve coordination. Nothing to do with any coup talk. Now, one thing we all know is that the word coup carries heavy weight in Nigeria. It's not a word people throw around lightly. Many Nigerians still remember the military eras of the past, and those memories are not pleasant for most citizens. That's why any story suggesting even a whisper of military plotting immediately gets massive attention. But we also have to remember that Nigeria today is very different from Nigeria of the 1980s or 1990s. We have a more open society, stronger democratic institutions, and a population that will never quietly accept the return of military rule. So, in moments like this, it's good to take a deep breath and look carefully at the facts. The facts as they stand right now are, yes, some officers are being detained and questioned. Yes, media houses have published their names and ranks. And yes, the defense headquarters has publicly said there is no coup. Both can be true at the same time. Investigations can happen without there being any actual plot. It's also important to understand that when journalists publish stories like this, especially investigative ones, they're not always saying that a coup has happened. They're saying that there are internal security movements that are worth public attention. For democracy to be healthy, journalism and transparency are necessary. But at the same time, the military also has to protect sensitive information and maintain discipline. So it's a delicate balance between public accountability and national security. Now, as this story spread, Nigerians online reacted in all sorts of ways. Some people were alarmed and said, "We don't want to hear about coups anymore. Nigeria must remain democratic." Others were skeptical, saying maybe this is just politics. Maybe some people want to send messages. And then there were those who simply said, "Let's wait and see what comes out of the investigation." That's probably the wisest position, to wait for official reports or legal proceedings before drawing conclusions. If we think about the bigger picture, this whole episode also shows something interesting. Nigeria's democracy is learning how to handle sensitive issues without panic. 20 or 30 years ago, just hearing a rumor like this might have caused serious fear across the country. But now, people are reacting with more calmness and analysis. That's progress. And it shows that as a nation, we're maturing politically. Let's also remember that the Nigerian military has been very busy with real security challenges. They've been fighting insurgents in the northeast, confronting bandits in the northwest, and securing oil installations in the Niger Delta. So, it's possible that what we're seeing now is just the system checking itself, making sure discipline remains intact while the main mission of national security continues. Now, before I continue, if you're still listening and enjoying this breakdown, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us grow and keeps us motivated to bring you accurate, respectful, and clear discussions like this one. Now, let's get back to it. The interesting thing about this whole situation is that so far, no court has charged any of these officers with any crime. There's been no formal accusation in court, no public evidence, and no confirmation from the presidency that any plot truly existed. So, right now, what we're dealing with are reports and investigations, not final judgments. That's why it's important not to spread panic or misinformation. In a situation like this, the most responsible thing the media can do, and what citizens should do as well, is to keep asking for clarity and transparency without turning the matter into drama. The military owes Nigerians communication, and journalists owe the public truth and balance. That's how democracy works. And you know what's also important? Understanding that our country is in a region where coups have recently happened. Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger Republic. And that makes people extra sensitive to any mention of similar activity. But Nigeria is different. Our institutions are stronger, our people are more vocal, and the political system has far more checks and balances. The leadership of the Nigerian Armed Forces has also repeatedly stated that they are loyal to democracy and will never be part of any unconstitutional action. So, my friends, this situation is a perfect example of why calm analysis is so important. The news may sound scary at first, but when you take time to look at it clearly, you'll see that the system is still stable. The country is not in crisis, and governance continues as usual. Now, beyond this immediate story, there's a larger lesson here for all of us. When stories break, especially ones that have to do with national security, we must learn to separate rumor from fact. Sometimes people post things online for attention or political gain, and before you know it, the wrong information starts spreading faster than the truth. That's why it's so important to always check where a story is coming from and what kind of words it uses. When you see words like alleged, sources said, reportedly, it means the story is still developing. And while we're on that point, I have to commend the journalists who broke the story responsibly. They made sure to say alleged and under investigation, which are the correct professional terms. They didn't declare anyone guilty. That kind of responsible journalism is what keeps democracy safe. It allows the public to stay informed without turning the nation upside down. So where do things go from here? Over the next few weeks, Nigerians will be watching closely to see if any of the detained officers are officially charged, released, or transferred. If any official statement from the defense headquarters or the presidency gives more details, that will help clarify the entire issue. Until then, we must remain patient, steady, and responsible with our words. And that's why I always say this channel is about clear minds. Because when things like this happen, the real value isn't in shouting or guessing, it's in understanding. Nigeria's democracy is built on the strength of its people, and part of that strength is how we handle sensitive stories. So, my dear viewers, if you've been following this gist from the start, you now have the full picture. 16 military officers detained, allegations under investigation. The military says there's no coup, the presidency stands by that, and everyone is watching how it unfolds. The country is calm, governance continues, and the democratic system remains intact. And that, my friends, is how responsible citizenship works. You stay alert, but you stay calm. You ask questions, but you don't spread fear. You wait for verified facts, and you understand that every big story has layers. Some true, some exaggerated, and some just noise. So before I round up, if you've enjoyed this discussion, please make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Turn on your notification bell too, so you never miss our deep, balanced breakdowns of the biggest stories happening around Nigeria and beyond. I'll keep watching this story closely, and whenever there's a genuine update, not rumor, not social media guesswork, but real verified information. I'll be right here to share it with you in a calm, professional, and easy to understand way. Remember, Nigeria is ours to build, and the best way we can do that is by staying informed and staying united. So don't panic, don't spread fear. Just stay tuned, stay wise, and keep supporting content that values truth over drama. Thank you so much for watching. Please like this video if you found it helpful, and don't forget to subscribe before you leave. Now, should I continue with part 2, where I'll go deeper into how this kind of military investigation actually works in real life and what it means for the future of Nigeria's democracy? Would you like me to continue?